Asian neighborhood has been in a quiet turmoil, and starting from Sri Lanka to Islamabad, there has been continued unrest and changes in governments. From anti-India campaign in Maldives to a hardening stance on Taliban, from continued tightrope walking done by nations such as Nepal, Bangladesh, and Bhutan to balance between rising powers to Delhi and Beijing, it is a busy neighborhood for observers. But today, our interest is on Pakistan and the recent events which have unfolded, as we saw Imran Khan do, as he refused to let the National Assembly vote upon the no confidence vote brought against him. And getting the president to dissolve the whole assembly, Imran Khan is not only looking in the eyes of the army, but also the constitution and the Supreme Court of the country, as his defiance will certainly be put down for now, but he promised the establishment that he will pose a bigger threat when he is out of power. Now the army had to ensure that he steps back. And moreover, at this point of time, his attacks on Prime Minister Narendra Modi and RSS cannot go unnoticed. But his love for India's independent foreign policy became less of a compliment to Delhi than an attack on Pakistan's army that has nurtured a close strategic partnership with the US and the West. Khan has gone to a whole tilt with his anti-Americanism by charging the opposition, which was calling for a no confidence vote, as an US conspiracy. We at this point of time will analyze the whole scenario. Well, keeping that in mind, to our conversation today, we have with ourselves Brigadier Akhilesh Bhargav, a strategic commentator with an experience of 35 plus years in the Indian Army. Namaste, Brigadier sir. And it is a pleasure to have you on board for this interview. So, Brigadier Bhargav, what are your initial comments for what has transpired in our neighborhood, and what do you think will be the consequences?
Yeah, Arpan, as you rightly brought out, that in the present scenario, the world is in turmoil, and within that, if we come and home onto South Asia, then that is in deeper turmoil. With Afghanistan, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, especially the economic part of it, is in real great turmoil. Now, as we see that how the things are unfolding both in Pakistan and Sri Lanka, just because of their tie-up with China. And China, as we see, that it speaks about investment, bringing investment to countries, but actually it is whatever investment it brings in, it takes it back, leaving the state in utter turmoil and in debt. And the debt trap philosophy it is following. Now, Sri Lanka has understood. The Sri Lankan people have understood very well. However, as we see the recent events which have unfolded in Pakistan, it seems that whether it was Imran Khan or now that the opposition is in power, both of them, they continue to praise China and back them as the closest and a long-lasting partner and friend, be it international fora or as an immediate neighborhood. Now, if they are not able to understand this aspect, that what China is doing to their country, I mean, is just too bad for them. Now, the recent things which have happened, the Pakistan, one thing has to be understood, that army is foremost. Whoever has to be in power in Pakistan, they have to respect the army. Why? Because the entire power in Pakistan, right from the beginning, has lied with the army. And they have ensured that if whoever is the prime minister from the civil side, if they do not respect or ensure that they understand that what Pakistan army is all about, try to do things in a different manner, then the army is sure to bring them down. Same thing has happened now. Imran Khan had a very fragile government with a very thin majority, and The turn of events as it took place in Afghanistan, as we are aware, the ISI chief, he sent them across to Afghanistan without the knowledge of the General Bajwa. And thereafter, there was a tiff between the two, followed by the Imran Khan's so-called visit to China. Basically, it was for the Winter Olympics inauguration. However, later it was found that it was for something else. And from there onwards, he met President Putin, and then followed by the visit to Moscow.
So, sir, don't you think so that the visit to China or the visit to Russia per se is more like aggravating the West? The Pakistan army had, as they always install hybrid governments as part and to support their civil counterpart. So, don't you think so that it is going against the so many years of a relationship which they had built upon? It's going against it.
Yes, absolutely. So now Imran Khan has failed on one aspect. He came to power on the anti-American stance, that because he was always opposing the existing governments, that they are stooges of US. Here he was trying to do things differently, getting closer to China. And now, since Russia also wanted to intervene, the moment things changed in Afghanistan after the backing out of US, Imran Khan organized a meeting for changing the situation in Afghanistan for the OIC countries. He invited the US and Russia both. China was remarkably absent for some reasons. In my view, it was that China was driving the entire meeting from behind the curtain.
So, sir,
Now,
how do you expect at this point of time the role of Chinese at this point of time in the Pakistan politics, and especially considering the army has a role to play in the politics of the country?
So now, during the visit of Imran Khan to China, China promised another 52 billion worth of loans, additional loans. Already, the Pakistan is under debt, and an additional more than $50 billion coming, it would have certainly put much more pressure. However, for some reason, Imran Khan accepted it to ensure that CPEC is completed and get going in a 100% format. So far, it is just about 30% completed. However, when things started turning bad back at home in Pakistan, we found that the Chinese ambassador in Pakistan was going around meeting the leaders of all the oppositions. I suppose it was for that, to ensure them that Imran Khan continues to stay in power. However, that was not to be, because the Pakistan Army Chief, General Bajwa, had already decided to pull the rug from under his feet. And he had given that he will be fair to whether Imran Khan wins whenever the trust vote will come, or the opposition members come.
But sir, at this point of time, even the new Wazir-e-Azam, he himself has already worked closely with the Chinese. And sir, so do you think there will be any reset in ties between India and Pakistan?
So the Shahbaz Sharif, in his opening remarks after taking over as the Prime Minister, he has called Chinese as a long trusted friend of Pakistan. And whether there is change in regime, China has continued to stand by Pakistan. And he has in fact accused Imran Khan of diluting that friendship to an extent, whereas he said that we will continue to do and maintain that friendship. And immediately after that, he touched upon the Kashmir issue. And again, back to the rhetoric of that we will continue to support the people of Kashmir and do whatever to bring them to international fora and back them up in various ways to help them and get the independence part. And he sent a warning, which is actually laughable at this stage when Pakistan is suffering from inflation and economy and down in dumps, and then threatening Narendra Modi that he should understand that without solving Kashmir, there cannot be any friendship between the two countries.
So, sir, don't you think so that at this point of time, there are a lot of other challenges as well for Pakistan? Like just in the span of 1 year, they will have to manage a crippling economy. They also have to manage their debts. They have inflation, which is at all-time high. And also that their currency at this point of time is 170 rupiah against the American dollar. So that itself speaks a volume of what will of the challenges that the new Pakistan prime minister will have to face. But sir, do you really think so that having they have their priorities misplaced by taking out the whole concept of Jammu and Kashmir here, bringing the whole issue up again?
So the issue of Jammu and Kashmir has to be kept alive. If Pakistan army has to stay the number one, numero uno in Pakistan's complete thing, whether you say political or otherwise as a country, so Pakistan army can stay at numero uno place until till the last, as Kashmir problem is kept to the fore and burning alive. Otherwise, they lose their complete, whatever their standing is. So that's why this present government, which has come again, perhaps with the backing of Pakistan army, and to an extent, perhaps Imran Khan would have got a hint from somewhere that the US backing was there with Nawaz Sharif. Nawaz Sharif and Shahbaz Sharif, both together, I would call it.
Yeah.
Now, as we see that you have very rightly brought out that the current situation, the Pakistan inflation has, now crossed almost 15%. The economy is in dire dumps, just about $12 billion in reserves. That's around less than 1 week reserves, which is there. There are no jobs. Whatever the CPEC was supposed to be, nothing has come out of it. The FATF scenario, Pakistan continues to be in the grey list. Saudi Arabia and UAE have also pulled the rug from under Pakistan's feet. They are not paying them anything more. The IMF loan, which has to be paid back, now that is also standing on their head. I don't know from where that money will come, except some remittances, which is coming constantly on monthly basis from the Pakistan diaspora across, whether they are in Saudi Arabia, UAE, or Britain. That is all what is their earning is. COVID pandemic further has, further put a absolutely burden on the Pakistan economy, because Imran Khan had promised huge amount of subsidy to the Pakistan Awam, and all of that is not coming through any longer. So therefore, the new government has got a huge burden on their head, and I really don't know, because the elections are due in May 23, and just about a year is left for the election. Within that 1 year, what Shahbaz Sharif is going to do, God only knows, because neither the loan is going to come from China. Even if China comes, it will increase their debt burden. IMF is certainly not going to bail them out, because they continue to be in FATF and they are not able to pay them back whatever is due to them. Saudi Arabia, UAE, and OIC, other countries, except perhaps Qatar, Turkey, Malaysia, rest of them, nobody is going to back up Pakistan. So actually speaking, Pakistan is down in dumps, and only, if ISI has got something back up their sleeves of interacting behind the curtain with MI6 or CIA, that I cannot say, but otherwise, yeah, it is in dire straits as far as Pakistan is concerned.
Okay. So, sir, what do you think will be the broader implications on of the Pakistani politics on India specifically? Because at this point of time, India is doing very well when it comes to all the other sectors. So, what do you think will be the implications? And also, the second follow-up question to your statement that you made, sir, there were a huge amount of protest in the major cities of Islamabad, Rawalpindi, Quetta, and all the other places. As they said that Imran Khan is their messiah and they will be supporting him in the next elections. So, sir, do you really think that is there any possibility of Imran Khan coming back in the next elections?
So, firstly, I will touch about the role of India. Now, as you have seen in the recent times, that how ambassadors and the heads of states of so many countries have either visited or had a virtual meeting with our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi. For some reason, everybody is considering India to be in a position of influencing whatever is happening in the current world order, starting from the Ukraine-Russian war and the entire thing which are emanating out of that. India has, not taken sides. It has its interest with Russia. Obviously, we have so many of our defense equipment which is belonging to Russia. However, it has also not lost sight whenever and wherever it was required to also provide medical aid or otherwise help to Ukraine in various terms. So much so that US was trying to threaten India with dire consequences, but within a matter of 24 hours, they retracted their statement. So Australian Prime Minister has clearly stated that, yes, India, they accept what India is doing and why they are doing. Japanese, Japan, UK, everybody is accepted. So as far as India is concerned, it is in a very strong position. Economically also, the way our country has been able to tide over the COVID pandemic, as also the current economic crisis, whichever was happening because of the oil raise in oil prices, we have been able to handle all of this in a very fairly decent way. And so far, the burden on our economy is not to be seen. Now, coming over to Pakistan. Now, as you said, that behind the scene, what is happening in Pakistan, nobody knows. What the army and the ISI is tying up with which country at what point in time, nobody knows. Suddenly, from the Shahbaz Sharif, we can make out that they are looking towards US. Russia's name was not taken at all. Whereas Imran Khan had walked up to Russia, and Russia also made a statement that they would like to support Imran Khan. In the present scenario, in Pakistan parliament, we see that PTI is still having 155 seats. They had 164, few of them have gone out. So 155 is a big strength. And if you take both the major parties, that PMNL and the PPP, then we find that both of them put together, they have just 140, which is less than PTI's. If this is to be considered, then they have a big majority, and they have the mandate of the people so far as the parliament is concerned. Now the ragtag parties, small parties, which side they will move, you can never tell, because they need the money, and that money is coming from outside the country. So this is one part. The second part, what Imran Khan has been stating is that whether is this Shahbaz Sharif, Nawaz Sharif, or Bilawal Bhutto who is there, who is making statement that we have back to Purana Pakistan, they are now, all of them have been staying outside of Pakistan. They actually speaking, they do not know what Pakistan is undergoing. They are not suffering. They are into big mansions in UK and wherever they are. So therefore, it is hard to say as of now. We have seen the huge crowd who are backing Imran Khan, and side by side, there is a section of society who are backing the dynastic politics, whether it's Sharifs or Bhuttos. So that is also true, very true.
So, sir, do you really think so that the next election will be between US versus China? And on the topics of US versus China, and the second would be democracy versus Parivarvad.
So China, as far as China is concerned, it knows that it has, it has grabbed Pakistan by whatever you say, because the huge debt trap and their presence in, whether it is in Gwadar port, even in Karachi now, and all along the CPEC, and they have a huge number of at least 4 or 5 power projects which are under their grabs. The entire telecommunication, only one thing is growing in Pakistan, that is the telecommunication industry. Why? Because it is under control of China. That is the only thing from where the revenues are being generated in Pakistan. That's all. All other industries, all other service things, they are going down. So whatever you say, I mean, Pakistan can't do without China now. It's just unthinkable. Now it comes to US. Yes, US is looking, again, that balancing act, it will continue to do, because for so many years, General Bajwa other day made a speech that why does US forget that they were part of SEATO, CENTO, NATO, favored ally, and all such things, and they have been helping out US in whenever they desired, especially as far as Afghanistan. They were helping US to remove Russia from there, and now to counter the Taliban. Okay, so all along they have been helping Pakistan. Now, when it comes to economic crisis, why shouldn't the US be helping them? So they are looking, and IMF, who controls IMF? IMF is controlled by US, because that is the country which provides them the maximum funds. So therefore, this is another part of the story that they can't do without US until they side, and they have to stop siding or talking about Russia. So that was perhaps a big mistake by Imran, but anyway, that is being corrected now by Shahbaz Sharif. So let's see how it is pans out, whether the interest of China or whether the interest of US will get played as far as Pakistan future is concerned, and especially the economic part of it.
And sir, on the part of Parivarvad versus democracy, what do you think so will be your stance?
Yeah, that is the big thing. I mean, Mahmood Qureshi, whether you talk of him or the Chaudhry or Imran Khan, the 3 heads of the PTIs who are there, all of them have been talking about this, the dynastic politics versus the common man. So that is a huge population. They understand that this dynastic property, whether it was Bhuttos or Sharifs, they have taken a huge amount of money, and that is how they are living a king-size life in outside of Pakistan, because they have taken the loot away. So that is what it is. So it will benefit Imran Khan. I mean, he'll not be down out and right, but certainly he'll be a force to reckon with in the Pakistan politics. But yes, considering how Pakistan army will back up, especially behind the scene, behind the curtain, the ISI, how they will back up, especially the money part of it, and bringing various ragtag parties, small parties to which side, whether Imran Khan side or Shahbaz Sharif and Bilawal Bhutto side. So that would what will matter in the next elections, whenever it happens. Another question is that whether this present government, because of the economic crisis, will last till May 23 or before only it will finish. Because if there is an outside chance that if complete PTI walks out of parliament, they submit the resignations, then also the parliament will be defunct and it has to go in for a quick elections.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. It was a real pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you so much.